feel like a little kid. Sì?
Yeah.
Ciao, sono Daniela Astone. La vostra sexy painter.
I'm not editing any of that out.
Oh, fuck! You're kidding.
That's all staying in.
No. Allora, ci siamo?
Okay. You've never seen any of these. You don't do podcasts.
Absolutely not. As I told you, I hate the podcast.
Perfect. Okay.
Should I say that?
Yeah.
Please don't listen to this podcast. I warn you.
Not very many people do.
Awesome, great.
Yeah. Okay, I'm Ryan Brown, and this is the Unvarnished podcast, and we're back in Leo Mancini Horesco's studio in Boston, and a very lucky, unexpected surprise is Daniela Astone is here from Florence, right? You live just outside?
Yeah. Florence. No, of course. I'm not from Florence originally, but from the south of Tuscany, which is 2 hours, so I can say that more or less.
And you flew in just to help Ben Fensky to stretch and hang and get his show ready.
Yeah. He had a health problem and he couldn't come, and so in just 2 days of notice, I just decided to do this crazy thing and coming over here and spend some time with also with Leo that I haven't seen in so long. I mean, and I wasn't expecting having seeing such a big community of artists around here. I mean, I'm not good with geography, so like sometimes I don't, like when someone tells me a name of a city, I don't immediately connect that it's actually pretty close to Boston.
Yeah.
So I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're so lucky because when I was in Florence, you were one of my teachers, so I was afraid of you.
I'm so sorry for that.
It's not your fault.
Do you have to bring this up?
It's
really,
it's not your fault. I was afraid of everyone. The culture at the school was kind of very hierarchical, and I think that just from my own personality, I looked at like the people that were maybe had been there longer, that were above me, that were obviously so much better than me, and just kind of aspired to hopefully kind of reach that level. And so I just came in and I was afraid of everyone.
But the American culture is very competitions, and
of course,
it's very there's this hierarchy all the time, and you show that you're cool and you're doing stuff and you sell and you have money.
Yeah, it was, and I think it was partly also there was like the beginning studio in Cassine, and then
the
Bandiera,
passages between one level to the other.
Like when you're in Cassine, all you want to do is get to Bandiera, and then same thing, you want to get to Porta Romana, and so you look at those people above as like gods, and then by the time you get to Porta Romana, you realize, it's hard for everybody. It's always hard, and the hierarchies kind of like fall away. I didn't feel like nobody in Porta Romana was really looking down at Cassine, like, looking down at them. But when you're in Cassine, you really feel like you're looking up at Porta Romana, and it was kind of an odd environment in that way. But anyways, my point with that is just that because I had a family and, I was came to school, went straight back home. There, I didn't get to know. I got to know the students that were immediately around me, but some of the teachers I didn't get to know quite as well. Like I would have loved to have gotten to know Toby a little bit more, or Yora, or Hunter, but I just didn't. The opportunity wasn't there, and you were one of them because you were teaching in Bandiera mostly.
Yeah, but honestly, even if you would have spent more years there, I think I've been working with people that I don't know anything about, just because it seems like that you have sort of friends, but it's friendly like an environment, but at the end we are all colleagues and everyone is quite, it depends, but like most of the people are quite, introverted with their own personal stuff, and so don't feel too bad if you
Yeah.
if you didn't really, if you feel like you didn't have the chance to get to know the people so deeply. It's just like that with some people it's not possible, so
Sure,
like
sure.
even if you stay with them for years and years, so
I think one of the things I miss became pretty clear the other night when I saw you and we had dinner, was just that sort of brotherhood, sisterhood, thing, where I've respected your work for so long. I've admired your path and your bravery.
I did the same even when you were my student there. So like it's this is I recorded it, so like you can remember, you can rewatch it. I was really impressed by your work and I was looking at it, I was like, why this guy's here, it's good.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, ultimately, the best compliment is when the people that you admire, compliment your work. That's the best feeling. But I never would have assumed that any of the
But
teachers
I
at the
also
Florence
told
Academy.
you, just remove that from your head because you just
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
Come on.
But yeah, so when we were speaking the other night, I think that's one of my greatest joys in being an artist is, I love painting, but more than anything else, I think I love the associations I get to have. I love it's why, this will be repetitive to people that watch some of my podcasts, but I say this all the time. It's why I actually started the podcast, is because I found I was having so many really inspiring conversations, really interesting conversations. And I didn't know how to relate that or relay that to like students when I would travel and I'd come home and I'd try to tell them the stories about the people I hung out with. I couldn't, I don't feel like I was as good at sharing the magic of the moment. And so I thought, why don't I got to start recording these, just hit record and start talking, because I'm just sort of endlessly inspired by the people I get to hang out with.
Yeah, and even if as internal workers inside of the Florence Academy, for example, or these sort of ateliers that, of course, they might have things that might work better and work less better, but in general, what they create is this anyway connection networks between artists and honestly, as an Italian, getting there, and the first time I wasn't even speaking any English. I remember that it was very difficult for me to accept this mentality and this kind of military kind of schedules now, like that getting in late for 5 minutes was such a big thing, and I had to learn some discipline. But I have to say that at the end, the brotherhood and the sisterhood that you are saying has been created by that family.
Yeah.
And you like it or not, has always been our family. And in fact, I say to Daniela, even if we didn't have a really good relationship, but it's just like that he will be always my kind of artistic father. And I just have to, embrace that and just move on and start to get free from that and become an independent asset. But my roots belong to that environment, and yours too.
Yeah.
And that is what makes us brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think mutual admiration and I think the familiarity of knowing how hard it is to paint well, and I think there's something special about really understanding what it takes, all the little steps that it takes to actually do what we do. It's the little step of discovering that you actually love to draw, the little step of committing time to it, and the little step of finding a school and then deciding to actually sacrifice and take the time and effort and money to go to that school, and all the effort and struggle to go through the curriculum. And I mean, there's all these little steps, and then committing afterwards, setting up your studio, standing at the easel by yourself, following ideas that are scary and you don't know how they're going to come out. And there's all of those elements that we all go through that tie us together, because there's such a deep understanding of intrinsically, because those steps are similar to all of us, right? When I know basically what it takes for you to be a painter, because I've followed so many of the same steps, and that I think that's one of the things that immediately ties us together as artists. So how old were when you first, like, what was your journey like growing up? When did you first kind of get into drawing and painting? How did you find the Florence Academy? Because I didn't know very many Italians that studied at the Florence Academy. It's there's people that come from all over the world, obviously, but surprisingly, not that many Italians.
Yeah, because it costs too much for Italians, kind of
Sure.
I mean, in Italy, we don't pay for schools.
Yeah.
So, like, even the good schools, we just pay taxes for it, but it's not much.
Yeah.
So, even the most important university, it doesn't cost so much.
Yeah.
So, no, my journey, like, basically, I was very bad at school. Since I was little, I was living in my own world. The only thing that I was able to do, apparently, it was to draw, and all my teachers were just like noticing me just in the moment of the art hour. But then for the rest, I was very bad. And my mom wanted to. She was very tired of sending me at school because I was having such a poor results. And so she said, you know what? You have your last chance, baby. If you going well to school, then you can choose your high school. But the first year that you're gonna bump, then you come in the pizzeria where my family has a pizzeria. And you say, and I said, okay, I promise that I will straighten it up. I will just focus and I will do well. And in fact, I always had good, scores. And it was from that moment, actually, my life took a direction, and it was my school and it was my environment. I was feeling much better. But before that, the level of self-esteem, can I say this? Is this a word?
Self-esteem, yeah,
Yes.
sure.
It was very low for me.
Yeah.
Very low. I was like, all the people I knew was like, they were like, Daniela's not gonna make anything good in her life. So like, and I have to say that there is a nice taste of the revenge when you see someone, that maybe they've been very brilliant at school when they were little, and then they're doing just like one of the other jobs now that they're like very bully, like, I'm cool, I'm more intelligent, and then they're not doing such a great job or jobs that they love, but they're just like into like normal life. And the fact that I'm actually doing something for the 95% of Italian is impossible. I mean, like when I was little, I was very thinking that working as a painter, it was impossible, and probably still is. I don't know. Like I've been also teaching to support my painting, so this is going to be the first year that I just do paint.
Yeah. Mine too. I just shut my school down in January, and it.
So good luck, guy.
Yeah,
Good
I'm.
luck.
It's worked out actually, shockingly better because I didn't really have a plan. I just it was kind of suddenly I just decided I don't want to do the full 4 years and kind of be the only one, you know, running everything, scheduling models and cleaning the toilets and um, everything. So, but you know, surprisingly, um, I've just been so much less stressed, I guess, and I've actually sold much better, and so it's great, and I feel like I'm able to sort of what I realized recently was uh, there were certain walls that I still had up that I didn't know were there, that were still kind of tied to this academic mentality, and I feel like I've been able to kind of um, be a little bit more experimental, a little bit more free with trying to consider a different aesthetic for or how I wanted to present ideas visually. I feel like a little bit freer to kind of expand that. And I don't know where that'll take me, but it's just nice to kind of feel a little bit more freedom than I have in the
Ah,
past.
because teaching is a huge responsibility,
Yeah,
and in a way, I have to say that I love to teach.
yeah,
Especially, I love to teach in the environment of the Florence Academy because you could have realized how, um, like, that you basically manipulating material that is human. In a way, you have that capacity to influence the decisions of things. So it's a huge responsibility. Sometimes you risk while you're teaching. Now, sometimes you say, okay, today I'm gonna give a harsher critique and see if he reacts well. The next day you're gonna give a kind critique and see what you know. You try different things time to times, and you try to make them to always get out of their comfort zone a little bit, a little by little. So I have to say that especially in these last years, I had such a good relationship with most of my students. There was such a very a powerful kind of connection, and I was really very happy to do that as a job. And I think that teaching is probably, yeah, for me is one of the best jobs that you could ever do. Um, of course, though, like if because of that, it's like always having kids, you know, and you always watched in a way on the other, and so like you feel like you have to behave, or you have to, like, there is unconsciously this voice that tells you, ah, but you ought to do this better and in these ways. You cannot experiment too much because the kids are watching you.
yeah,
You are the inspiration for them, and so like you can't just fuck up all the paintings, or you can't just do whatever because they're watching you.
sure,
So like you feel the responsibility also when you pay it, even if the school never ever told me anything about my what I was doing, and probably because maybe I was academic enough. I don't know, but so like definitely from now on I can, you know, break free, you know, a little bit. Like as
yeah,
you said, you can experiment, and but even the followers in a way in the social media, the followers that you have are attached to that academic reality,
yeah,
and the same the followers that I have, and they want to see just those things more. But I think that there is a moment for a person to expose them yourself in a different way, and more like try to kind of bring out some themes and some materials that it has been in there for a long time, and you just have to, and maybe you're just tired to do the same thing over and over. You just want to do something different,
yeah.
and it's definitely time to do it when you don't have a school, right?
Yeah, and you seem like in your more recent work to be doing that a lot. You've been doing
Not enough.
no,
Not enough.
um, but it's certainly like the stuff I've seen recently, and maybe you started this earlier than I'm aware of. But you're doing a lot of like imagined figures and spaces that are really, very much a breakout of what we would consider academic or pure representation. Um, it's still, I mean, you always had like such a unique touch to your work. I'm like, in my work, um, I don't know what my paintings look like, but I know there's a lot of painters that like say Jeremy Lipking, where like you never mistake a Jeremy Lipking because the coloration. There's something about his use of color that is recognizable, and then like a Ben Fensky has such a unique kind of approach and way of mark making that you'll never not mistake it, right? It's so
I don't know if
recognizable.
I agree with that, because even if, of course, Ben Fansky and Jeremy Lipkin, they both have great and big personalities, and so like, but I think it's just because, like, in the elite that we are in, we can notice the difference, but the people outside,
Oh, sure, sure.
they can't.
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah, I can see that. But
Like
to
for
me,
like
you always had.
okay,
Uh,
but for most of for the
yeah,
rest of the world,
right,
for the rest of the world,
sure. They're not going to notice
there
that.
is just like a difference,
Yeah,
and the difference is if you're doing realistic old-fashioned paintings
yeah,
and or contemporary art
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
has like these sort of kind of splashes and things like that.
yeah.
Like there is no, for most of them, there is no
Sure.
other things than that. So like, yeah, it's just like in our world, which is we live into a bubble. Like Florence is a small bubble, but I think that the realist art in the States is a bigger bubble, but it's always a bubble.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I was going to say though is your work, to me, has always looked like your work, and now that you're breaking out, now that you're kind of your subject matter is kind of shifting a little bit. You're doing really imaginary scenes. There's still like such a clear Daniela touch
Mwah.
to it that
If you say
that I've
so.
always loved. Yeah, I mean it's always been beautiful to me. There's an aesthetic to the way you interpret color, the way that you draw, the way that you put paint down, that I've always loved. And even seeing that, as the subject matter shifts back and forth, it's still so Daniela, which I love to see, because it's I've started to do things that are a little bit more, I don't know, unexpected, and again, it's hard for me to know like what it looks like to other people. But where was it scary when you started to do that stuff? Were you just like caution to the wind, like I don't care, I have to follow this, I have to do this? Or were you kind of nervous? Because like you talked about the followers, and they have certain expectations. They
Yeah,
already
no.
like some of the stuff you've done in the past. So if you do something so radically different,
Of course, I was scared because like you move into the you know in a place that you like, in a way, if you until you do stuff that are quite academic and that people will appreciate anyway, and you can just improve with the technique forever, because I don't think that technically I'm good enough. Like I could have studied for the rest of my life to just improve the brushwork or the capacity of kind of catching like a certain atmosphere or certain color in the sky. I don't think I'm good as I'm that good in the academic world. I'm
Mm.
I'm not a virtuosa. I'm definitely not a virtuosa. I don't have the temperament for that.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not like I know that there is a lot of people that are just studying hard to kind of get and improve the technique, and they want a specific effect in their paintings, and I deeply admire them because especially I admire their consistency of their
Mm-hmm.
work, of the quality. That is what I have always admired of you. For example, this capacity to be quite very professional in your work. Not like you do start you put your passion in what you do. You have these beautiful landscapes. Like you're really smart in composing. You always switched on. Um, I definitely I even if I try, I can't do it. Like like as I keep saying that out of 10 paintings, I maybe keep 3 or 4. All the other, I burn them in the stove
Really?
or I put in the trash can. But since I discovered my husband, it was actually going into the trash can and to bring the painting out. Then I say, no, I better destroy them. So
Can you send them to me and I'll
no,
destroy them?
no,
I promise. I
no,
promise.
you will never destroy
I
them.
will.
No. I actually there is a pleasure in, you know, killing it. So I
That's
will.
so.
I will
That's
keep
so
that for me.
interesting because I I love everything you do.
Oh, thank you.
You know,
It's much easier to love other people's work and not
yeah,
love
yeah,
your work,
yeah.
right?
It's true.
Honestly, you don't know how many times I look around in my studio and just want to vomit. So many times. But, that is a signal that something inside of me is just like, is changing. And like we are constantly in evolution. Um, so sometimes you gotta do the job, and sometimes you just have to just accept the fact that you're no longer interested in what it probably will pay off,
Yeah.
and so you just have to start to do something that will never sell, and but at the end you just enjoying the process. Honestly, when I started to it was during the COVID time that I really wanted to do this big project. I wanted to start this journey of visualizing my dreams and having some more um, onirical. Can I say onirical? Oniri, like, I, like from the dreams. Oniriche, immagini oniriche.
Yeah.
Can I say that? Like, how do you say that in English?
I don't know how you say it in
fuck.
Italian.
Okay, so like I just wanted to have this start this thing, and I didn't know how to do it, what it was the best technique to do it. And I started with some charcoals a few years ago, but then the charcoals are kind of it's a tool that I'm, as I said, since like I'm not virtuoso, I might not get to that quality of the lines that I like. And so I started with these more monochromatic paintings, but I will probably, as soon as I will go back home, I'm probably gonna start to change the colors that I have in those paintings, because I noticed like it's too monochrome, and so like it's just like I'm experimenting. And while there was the COVID, and I had the chance to spend more time in my studio without having distraction, because at the end, my studio is always open, and so there is a lot of people coming in and out and in and out. Of course, not painters, just people in the countryside, the
Yeah.
gardener, or like my husband or my daughter or whatever. And so I was just there and say, you know what? I'm gonna start. I don't have the models because I cannot have models here. Uh, I'm gonna start with other models. Let's see. Like I come from illustration, so in the past I used to draw figures from imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how that works now, no? And I started with this charcoal, like creating like this different gesture. And then at one point, of course, I needed to call the model because it was too generic, and so I had
Sure.
to fix some stuff. But still, like I didn't even want it to push so far in the quality of the rendering because it was at that point it was boring rendering it. I didn't like once intellectually I've kind of finished the idea of the action of the painting, and then at that point for me it was done. It wasn't perfect. It
Yeah.
wasn't nice. The paint application is actually not that interesting, honestly. If you look at the painting from close up, it's just not that interesting. But for me, it was the best feeling ever. Like I was just like enjoying the process, enjoying the fact that the selection, the light, it was coming in the moment that I was doing it. It was very very yeah, it was very nice. And so I say, I want to have that feeling all the time that I paint. I
Yeah.
don't want to get bored because after you're in the studio and you do the same thing over and over,
Yeah.
you get bored. I get bored
Sure.
very easily. For me, it's hard even to paint the same subject twice.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me. Like
Yeah.
I feel like very bad in my soul. But now maybe I want to do it in a different way. Just like maybe now I discover that I can do the same subject, trying different colors, different things, but not because I'm just trying to, sell the same painting, no? But just like say, okay, what if this will have these other colors or will be slightly different? So like it's a sort of a journey that you try until you find maybe the best language. And so
Yeah.
even the big painting that I did with the 12 women, at the end is a sketch
Yeah.
because for me is not totally completed. Like I would like to do another one similar but with different colors or slightly different light or different, just to see how it looks like. And I like that. I like the idea that you work around the theme, and so and you allowed also the occasion of putting down paint even abstractly to give you ideas. So like another thing that I think it was very fascinating for my point of view when I was doing, for example, when I was setting up the still lifes or even the composition with the models in my studio. At the beginning, I never had any idea in mind. I was like totally free just to kind of look at the abstract shapes that were coming out, right? And unconsciously I was setting it up something that for me maybe just after a few weeks I was realizing that composition was actually perfectly representing the moment that I was living through. I was like, how it comes that I, without having any consciousness about, these relations between things, and I was looking just at the abstract, like it happened that actually they had a sort of a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that one, it was also something that I really enjoyed it, allowing the unconscious to play with the forms without taking care so much of the theme. So like I like these two ideas that you can go from inside out or from outside in, no?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can balance like the from where you take an idea of a painting and see how you can juggle with it with the expressing certain concepts. So
I have, as you're talking, I have two questions. One based on some of my experience in the academy, and a lot of conversations I've had with students, which is that of confidence, of uh, joy. I think one of the first things. Well, let me pose both questions first, or else I'm going to forget one of them. One is about confidence and liking your work enough to keep going. One is about career and choices and how to overcome fear when it comes to trying to like balance the reality of making paintings that you just have to make as a creative person, and trying to realize like, oh, I also have to find a way to monetize this. I need an audience. So the first question is, I've had students, and I think one of the first things that you experience when you go to an academy is that smack in the face of how much or how little you know. You get the world of art is kind of presented before you as soon as you learn how to see, right? You do like a bar drawing or a cast drawing, and really what you're learning there is not I mean, obviously you're learning technique, but you're also like learning to see for the first time, and you understand as you learn to see more accurately. It's like, the haze is taken from your eyes, and you can see paintings better. You can see, you can go to the museum, and it's, you understand things at a much higher level. And that, to a lot of people, can also bring with it a sort of debilitating fear, because you sort of adopt this idea of correctness, and so you become very, very self-critical. And I've seen a lot of people that creates a sort of fear and self-hatred to the point of not painting, or to the point of not having the confidence to put their work out there, or just a total lack of self-satisfaction. And you have to have joy in every incremental step forward, or else you won't keep going. So when you talk about burning your work, or being very, wanting to vomit as you look around your studio, does that come from kind of that feeling of a lack of self-satisfaction, or like your standards are so high that nothing reaches those, or is it more like, my ideas are changing and sort of evolving, and so the work that I made, I kind of liked in the process, but now I look at it, and I don't really like that I did that, or I don't like the idea anymore, and so I'm moving on. It's more of an evolution rather than a self-esteem issue.
Do you want to know what it was for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a year that I remember in the past, and I think that Jordan Sokol remembers that time too, because he was my studio mate, and I spent a year creating and destroying everything I was doing. I was going in a deep depression of because I wasn't able to do anything. That it was actually like I wasn't believing in myself enough to finish a painting properly. So I didn't really I'd constantly that voice in my head, like, and I had to do like some, I had to actually learn some with meditation. I had to learn how to forgive myself for a long time, in order to be able to paint again, and to let something to be alive, even if it wasn't, for my opinion, it's like when you give a birth something, you just like, you like it or not, it's there, just it goes. At one point it has its own life, and I just had to. I was over controlling too much, and now I don't care anymore. But I still have that, sometimes that fear to get stuck again, because that here it was tough for me, and yeah, and I just hope that I will. Now I have the tools to not go back to that anymore, and I have to tell you that last year I did a project of that. Every morning I was waking up
Yeah.
and I was doing the first thing, even before having breakfast. Almost, it's true. I was just doing the sunrise,
Yeah.
and I think that the daily routine, like starting your day, um, you know, being so thankful of life, and also being able to kind of do a ritual. It doesn't matter if the painting comes along at the end, or if it's just like a stupid, you know, laying down three colors down
Yeah.
on the, but it's just the action, the repeated action, that it gave me so much strength. You cannot believe it. I was painting like crazy during the day because I was so inspired,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's like an engine. Like when while it goes, it recharges.
Yeah.
So I thought that sometimes you need to balance these big expectations with big paintings, with smaller things that comes more easily, and you don't care much, or you do care, but it's just like yeah, they will just give you the ritual, the fact that you're
Yeah.
doing it and doing it and doing it. So
It's not as much pressure to.
yeah, it's not pressure, but it's just the fact that you actually actively, you want to be to produce something during the day. You want to live fully and deeply the day. We always complain that there is not enough time in 24 hours, but like someone told me that that is not, like, you can actually extend the time and compress it. It's just how you think about it. And so, like, I think that meditation, or just like learning how to live very deeply, begins with an action
Yeah.
every single day, and that yeah, it changed completely my way of thinking. So now, like, I try to do little things that or even for example, before I was feeling guilty to spend half day studying. Now I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I know that thing is, I just thirsty of knowledge, and thirsty of you know uh, learning about the myths, about psychology, about philosophy, about all the possible topics that uh, creating some sort of interest. I'm reading, and putting all these pieces together, and it's such a nice feeling that I feel like I am a researcher.
Yeah.
I'm searching for a treasure, and at one point I will maybe discover it or not. No, I will get there or not, but just in the journey is just so beautiful to live the life like that. And I'm speaking like this because I just quitted the school. I have some money on the side, but maybe not here. This conversation will be completely different.
Yeah.
Maybe in 1 year I will not be able to spend time on books anymore, and I will
Yeah.
just like
have
I will
yeah,
have to work every day,
pump-
like
Right. Pump
Like
out
a-
paintings.
one of those Charlie Chaplin kind of mechanical things,
So, well, that brings me to the second question,
which is business. No,
like-
career.
Yeah. How do you? I mean, it's difficult. You're a mother. You you add to your family's income. So that comes with certain responsibilities, and to provide. So it's not just obviously we're in a passion-driven field, but there is monetary realities to living, and so one of the things that I feel like I've kind of not done well as a professional artist is brand myself, right? Because I'm very much like you in that if I finish a nude, I want to now do a seascape. If I finish a seascape, I want to do flowers. If I finish flowers, I want to do a portrait. I finish that, I want to go do a forest interior. I want to I'm just kind of endlessly fascinated by so many things visually, and I want to explore those things. So, but landscapes are the thing that the galleries want. They sell a little bit easier. Um, um, if I get a compliment for my paintings, it's typically for my landscapes. I feel like my passion is a little bit more in the connection with the figure in the landscape.
The train is.
The train's here. And so like I really love figures in the landscape or multi-figures in the landscape. I want to get a little bit more narrative in my painting. But obviously, I at the beginning of this year, I thought, okay, I'm going to be disciplined. Nobody knows, or I guess I'm having a hard time building an audience because I don't do a thing, right? They want you like I want to hear Snoop Dogg rap. I don't want to hear him sing
probably
country.
at one point this thing of branding, it would, I don't know. I mean, okay, for sure, like the branding is a thing now. It's such a powerful thing, and that is how people think. No, like you might not feel considered having such a strong personality if you do different things. But come on, like the spirit of an artist, it cannot be put into a box, because if you just put yourself too much into a box, unless you're comfortable with it, but if you just want to experiment, you just have to try and risk, because I've noticed that people enjoy even more when I risk. My risks are actually appreciated, and so why not? I mean, I was so afraid at the beginning to try something else, but like honestly, I'm not really going that far from from what I used to do, but I see people asking, they're kind of interested, so why not just try.
Yeah.
Or just if you so afraid to do something different, if you want to do something like Pollock, for example, maybe you can just open up another account and just name it differently, and I was thinking about that actually.
Pseudonym.
I was thinking to open like another one with maybe a male name, because people still quite masculist around the world, and but then I realized, I say, you know what? No, I am very multiple in myself.
Yeah.
And I actually, even if for many years I was feeling bad about that, now I'm actually happy, and I actually understand that this is part of all of us. It's just in different grades, and so I like my multitude, and I want to be a multitude of Danielas. I don't give a shit what the brand or Instagram or social or galleries will say. You know what? I will find a gallery that sells a landscape, another gallery that sells, I don't know, something dark or surreal, and another gallery that will sell still lifes.
So that's
the world is big.
Yeah, that's the perfect answer, because there's you sit in your studio, you're in your own head, you're thinking, if I do this, what are all the potential outcomes? Or if I'm actually going to commit and spend a lot of time on this, what is the outlet? Do I have any outlets for this? Is it just going to be one of those things that I love but sits against the studio wall for 10 years? Is there an audience? What is that audience reaction going to be? And you go through all of this paranoia and
But you shouldn't.
fear things in your studio as you decide how to spend your time and what work with all the multitude of ideas that you have, which ones do I commit to and which ones do I spend my time on. And it's I think that's such a great response,
But
because a
Ryan,
lot of people struggle with that. And
but Ryan, you see that there is chance of possibility nowadays. You're doing this podcast, okay? But you can, register your lessons. You can do lessons online. You
Yeah.
can have, the world can be your student. And like with the internet and with the video calls, with the COVID, we realize that you can be in connection with the rest of the world. So I spent half of my life teaching. Okay. And for me, that one, it was my compromise with the income, even if it wasn't that, big salary, but it was enough in Italy to live.
Sure.
And for many years, honestly, painting, it wasn't really paying the taxes in Italy. It wasn't really worthing that much, because out of a painting of 2,000 euro sold, you remove the gallery, you take off the cost of the frame, the cost of the shipping, the cost of the model, and in your pocket remains 200 euro.
Yeah.
So, like, at the end, it doesn't worth that much to paint, especially where we live. So I was doing that, and I was teaching, and I was doing all sorts of things. But once you have that, you don't really risk much, because you have this sort of comfortable situation, and also you don't spend then much time neither in your working space, no. So I just say to myself, you know what, Daniela, if things are going wrong, because I was afraid also for my family, I had to talk to my husband, to my parents, and say, listen, I decided that I can't stand to stay in the school anymore. Like, can you guys help me if I will have some issue in the future? And none of them said, okay, Daniela, if this is, for many years they were like, but you can do both, you can do both. It's like, yeah, see, but like at one point I was feeling very bad, like, honestly, like in the environment, I wasn't able to stay in there anymore. So I said, no, that's enough. I can't do this anymore. So like, you just say, you know what, and that it was actually reassuring me, because I was like, okay, I was freaking out. I was like, man, Daniela, I mean, there's a lot of people doing classes online. You have enough people that follows you that I'm sure they would love to have classes with you. I can mentoring.
Sure.
I can do workshops around the world. I can do a lot of things. If the elf, doesn't abandon me, I can keep doing stuff. And so why not?
Sure.
Why not? I'm not gonna risk, of course, to lose my house or to lose anything. I will also do another job if I want. I mean, if really I need to.
Yeah.
But the thing that from now on, I just want to be in my studio. Like, I just want to be honest, and I just want to do the things that I feel okay with, or just like that I have fun, or just I really want to not have that feeling of oppression anymore. I want to be curious, and what you're constantly talking about the academy, that affected you and us, all of us get affected so much, and I think we all have a sort of an academic trauma, and and also we have been a little bit washed brain, because like aesthetically they're very strict,
Sure.
And luckily, coming from an Italian school, I had a lot of lessons of history of art, so like of all the different times of the, and I'm really actually interested in the mentality and why a certain specific art has been produced in that time. Now, why is so representative of that society in that specific moment. So for me, I can I cannot disconnect the this element, and but at the same time I'm always very impressed by the originality of each style, no, each art. So like I'm very curious. I've always been very. I in the past I used to, especially after the Florence Academy, I used to judge a painting about the brush strokes, about the quality of the impasto, and so on. But that it really comes from them. It's not
Sure.
mine.
Sure.
So honestly, nowadays I enjoy more visiting an archaeological museum than like a modern museum.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm so sick of 19th century art.
Yeah.
Like that, it was my reaction. I became allergic to it now. Like I'm
funny.
becoming allergic to it. So like I realized that it doesn't inspire me deeply
Yeah.
anymore. You know. So I think that we all have this sort of, in the good and in the bad, we have this relationship with our past that could either put us for the rest of our life into this, academia, or just like you just respond to it. And I think that I feel like in general, the people that I've seen lately doing, I can see that there is a lot of reaction also to this kind of ateliers, and that is good. I mean, this is the normal journey of an artist. You just do something for long enough, and then you tired of it, and you move on to another thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of dipping my toes in that. I'm still endlessly inspired by 19th century art, and the Musée d'Orsay is sort of my mecca. I try to visit as often as possible, but I am, expanding pretty dramatically right now. What other kind of visual experiences inspire me, and that I can kind of learn from, and expand my way of thinking and assessing what it is I want to say and how I want to say it visually. One question I have, you were talking about growing up, and something I have no concept of is what it's like to grow up in Europe, or Tuscany, which is so beautiful, and the history of it. So when I first went to Europe, as a I'm not just an American. I'm an American from the West, and so the West is so new. Everything is new. I mean, almost every house I've lived in is newly built, and the neighborhoods are new, and even the grocery stores were just built a few years ago, and so seeing the history was insanely inspiring to me. I mean, the buildings, and knowing how long they've been around, and trying to think back in history, like, well, what else was happening when this was built, and trying to put myself in that mindset of history is just something I think about all the time, and so for me, I have to go to Europe as often as I can. I find myself, even here in Boston, I find myself inspired in having thoughts that are completely unrelated to how beautiful I think a building is, but being around the building gets my mind just whirring in ways that where I live doesn't happen. But there must be a sort of normalcy for you growing up, because this was your environment. This is all all you've known is the history of the place. And I know that in my experience, in France, in Italy, people do appreciate the history of the place. They have a pride in you know living there and what happened before, in the heritage that's theirs. But there's also kind of a sort of been there, done that mentality too. And I know, like in France, especially, there's a sort of craving for the new, right? Like, yeah, that we're proud of this. It happened. It's beautiful, but I want the next thing. And in Florence, it seemed like kind of a dead
We
space.
go back to balance. We go back to the idea of balance. When you
Yeah.
have too much of one thing, if you have too much of ice cream, you want also some schiacciata
Yeah.
and with ham. Like sometimes
Yeah.
you need to balance it better. Sometimes we have, like the history is quite heavy, and it doesn't, and occupies like a space, pretty strong space. In Italy, there are a lot of things that you cannot do. You cannot paint a wall as you like externally. No way. There is a specific rules for the aesthetic
Yeah. Yeah.
to protect the. I'm happy of that, huh?
Sure.
But of course, there is not much space for, new ideas, new things. It's just like very limited. And so sometimes people react badly. In fact, most of the, like, there is no, I don't know many Italians that buy this kind of, realist
right.
art, because we have the museum stock of this stuff. Like we have
Yeah.
the attic, the cantina, like
Yeah.
everyone
And that's
has.
what I was going to ask
It's
is
just-
living there, you've got to still be inspired. You have the access to museums, and there's still an art community there. There's a lot of artists
Of
that live and
course.
work there, but in terms of like living art being shown and appreciated and purchased, it's not really happening much in Florence. There's not a lot of that going on, so you have to kind of send your work elsewhere to
I think that we have to
get that
separate
audience, right?
separate a little bit the selling and the feeling of about something. Is they're not together, right?
Right.
So like the possible audience that will buy something is not Italian, but
Yeah.
Italians don't buy most of the things. Like
Yeah.
like in general, we live of tourism that comes from outside.
Yeah.
So all the artisans and stuff, and that I know, this sells to Americans, Russians,
Yeah.
the people that come in vacation,
Mm.
and they want to have a little piece of.
So there's
Italy.
still I mean, there's a logistical issue to what you do, but you're still able to have an audience, or is everything you make has to be sent away somewhere else to be shown?
In terms of again, like a good economical return, yeah. But in terms of culture, instead, I think that there's a lot of artists that are, and a lot of places where you can actually exhibit, do things, but not like as you might think, or you might not see people going out painting together. That is definitely something that has been re-imported, from
Yeah.
out from the States, because
Yeah.
it's funny how now from the Macchiaioli, that they were living at the same time
Yep.
of the Impressionists, no? That they were anti-academic, and they were like going out to see just like the light, and
Yeah.
they weren't thinking about forms anymore. Like the Macchiaioli, how that kind of idea, routine, kind of in a way disappeared a little bit, and they're just very, very. I can count on one hand the Italian people that I know that haven't done an American school. They're still painting outdoor on just one end.
Interesting. And the macchiaioli, just for people that may not know that
Yeah.
term, these were like the 19th century plein air landscape painters. That's kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the name of the group.
Yep. So after that, the artists that are actually in Italy, that I know many artists, Italian artists, there, that they have this sort of nostalgia for the past. Um, they didn't have like maybe a training uh, that it is like our training, that it was
Yeah.
that strict. And there's a lot of Italian kids that they know they want to have that knowledge, um, and they couldn't really afford to pay the school, but they're trying anyway uh, to work in a certain direction. And so I think he's actually quite alive still, but you just have to find the right, the right thing. I don't see. Yeah, maybe I don't like. We don't have spaces like you guys have here. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Also, no, we don't have huge spaces. We have always small, and that also, in a way, it handicap a little bit the ability to do
Sure.
big stuff. But I'm like in the big cities, not of course not in Florence, because Florence is not even like a city. It's such a small
Kinda
little
small
town.
Yeah.
That lately is becoming more and more like a Disneyland of the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Like in other cities like Milan or Rome, you can have, or Bologna, you can have a more, alive exchange with, with all sorts of kids coming from different,
Yeah.
world. And when I actually curated the show Corpo a Corpo in 2019, my idea was actually to at least to be able to mesh up a little bit or to create opportunity of dialogue between the schools in Florence.
Yeah.
And it failed dramatically in that sense. It was a very successful show. We had more than 25,000 people visiting, paying
Wow.
a ticket to get in and to see the work of the artist, but zero dialogue between the
Really?
schools. And it was quite sad to see that. And then at that point, I think I realized, Daniela, this is you need to get out of these bubbles. They
Yeah.
don't need to get out. They're just like happy
Yeah.
with their own convictions, and they don't want to change. And in a way, I don't judge that. I think that it is a characteristic that allows people like Church Cecil, Daniel Graves, or John Angel to stay, to offer the opportunity to give, as you say, the brand or something that is is like, something that that is good,
Yeah.
and they won't change, and
Yeah.
and in a way, it makes you feel good that there is someone that is able to
Sure. There's a
stay
comfort
the
to it.
same after so long. So I admire that.
Yeah.
But me personally, I can't do it. And
Yeah. You
and
have to
I'm not
expand.
saying that I'm not using the word I've grown up in the sense I growing out now. No, it's not about growing. It doesn't have that positive. It's just like learning to be different,
Maturing in the way
in a
that
different
you
way.
understand yourself better.
Oh yeah, or
and
just
you need something different,
Yeah.
which is just an individual.
yeah. It's nothing neither
Yeah.
positive. Again, there's nothing wrong in remaining stable, no.
Yeah.
So actually,
Well, that's kind of you touched on kind of what I was, wondering about in that question, which is about community. Because when I was in Florence, obviously within the walls of the school, you have just such a great community. Everybody's really focused. Everybody's disciplined. Not everybody, but but it is an environment where these are your people, and you're all struggling together. And when I went back to Utah afterwards, my main motivation for starting a school was to try and recreate a community. I thought if I could give 4 or 5 years to this, by that time, I'll have helped enough artists kind of come up to my level, because I'm, not that advanced from anyone else. And
Shut
so it doesn't take that much time,
Mm-hmm.
with a good education to get to that foundational level. So, 4 or 5 years, I'll have a bunch of artists, and then we'll all kind of like lift each other up, and I'll where the community didn't really exist, maybe I can manufacture it. It didn't work the way I'd hoped. I never, or I guess to the scope that I'd hoped. I'd always hoped to kind of build it to where we could have 40 or 50 students at a time and whatever. But and multiple teachers and whatever. I never was able to do that. But I think now that my wife and I are talking about moving next summer, and I'm looking at like anything as a possibility. Living in Italy, living in France, maybe moving to Connecticut, maybe moving, more near here. I really have no idea what our next move is. The thing that I am really trying to search out is where that community already exists, because I don't have the energy to try and manufacture it again. So, there's a lot of great artists here in Boston. There's obviously a ton in New York. And now that you've left kind of that built-in community of the school, I know there's a lot of artists still living and working in Florence. Is that something you feel like you still have? Was that part of what was kind of like made you nervous about leaving the school, is leaving the community? Do you have people around you feel like inspire you and you can bounce your paintings off of and ask for some feedback? Is that important to you? Do you feel like you have
Of
it?
course, it is important, I'll tell you that for me, the greatest inspiration, it didn't come sometimes from someone that was painting like me,
Sure.
but it was someone that it was painting completely a different
Yeah,
thing,
absolutely.
or not even painting. I
Yeah.
have a friend of mine. She does the handmade scarves with this, telaio, and sometimes she says something poetic, and
Yeah.
like
Right.
she's part. So like, I think that sometimes we have this idea to look for a community in the sense that you want to have the people around you that are doing more or less the same thing, so that they can understand you and recreate that bubble. But if you look around, even like the person that you might not even be interested in the work that that person does, you might actually might have a richness that will enrich you if you give to that person enough time, you know, and try to get to know that person deeply. And like, I don't have that problem of the community because I live near Florence, and so in Florence
Yeah.
there is always someone that passed by. I mean, of course, I live in the countryside, and for me it's hard also to get a model, but like, it's just 20 minutes away from the center of Florence. It's not that far, and
Are you which direction?
Siena,
Oh, okay.
south.
Okay.
Um, so I keep saying to all the students who are leaving, and they might actually find themselves in a remote little town in Australia, or in a remote little town in Thailand, or in a big city in Thailand, or in a big city in the States, but they don't have the same community that they works on the same things, that you say, even better,
Yeah.
even better, try actually to look at the possibility that you have as a unique human being, to find the people that are part of your history, because you belong to that. For example, you belong to that city.
Yeah.
You know, try to find artists that are doing something completely different, and try instead to go with curiosity, without judging, and try to kind of extrapolate a little bit their truth, and maybe through analogies you can create a sort of a parallel,
Mm.
because even the artists that are doing a different kind of art are struggling too, and they
Yeah.
have the same questions.
Sure.
How can I survive? How can I do this? How can I do that? So I think that sometimes we get a little bit narrow-minded with the people that we want to be surrounded with, which instead, I think that it is, I think you could find even more rewarding
Yeah.
someone that is very different from you.
Yeah.
So this is my suggestion to all the people that miss that kind of community. And of course, you still have your brothers and sisters from that time that you
Yeah.
can always call with a
Yeah.
video call. You know, Ryan? So you don't
Hey.
have to wait 20 years
Oh my
or
gosh.
even more to just say, hey, Daniela, how are you? Can we have a chat?
If I
Because
would have known that was a possibility, again, this goes back to a little bit that we didn't spend too much time together. So I, I never would have thought you'd be open to like if I could send you my work and get some feedback. But
I'm not
that's
going to
my
give you
own.
critiques.
Yeah, you
I'm
are.
not going to give you critiques at all.
If I asked
No.
you to give me your thoughts, you'd give me your thoughts.
No.
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 No, I.
But
I,
if you want to talk about life, about
yeah,
you
yeah.
know other stuff, I'm happy to do it.
Well, that's good because I will. I'm definitely going to now. But for me, I think one of my problems has always been coming from a sports background that I look at everything as a meritocracy, right? Like good,
I'm
better.
sorry. I'm very sorry for you.
I know, I know. So when I'm looking for community, one of the things that I'm constantly, I'm desperate for is I need people that are better than me technically, because I need them to kind of understand what I'm trying for. I always have this sort of desperation to get better, and
But
I'm
you
in
are
the art.
already very good.
I'm in the art world where better doesn't even exist. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's no discernible standards, but in my head, I can't get away from that. So I think there's a certain handicap to that way of thinking, where I'm looking not necessarily for people that do it like me, or because I'm endlessly inspired by when I see people. Like I love the work that I could never do that. Like Leo, I couldn't. I don't see that way, right? The way that Travis Schlott paints or Kate Lehman approaches painting, I don't see that way, and I so appreciate um, the stuff that I could never do. The stuff that I would never think of. I love that, and it expands my own thinking. But I still, if I am trying to get feedback for my work, though all of that is helpful. I could ask my wife, and she doesn't know much about art. Asking anyone is helpful to get some how what you're doing kind of visually comes across to them. So that feedback is useful, but I also, in terms of trying to get better technically, feel like I need people that are tackling similar problems,
Those
right?
people are all pretty dead. I think you should go to the museum
Yes,
and ask
absolutely.
directly to the paintings.
And that is absolutely a reality. The last time I was in New York in, I think, January, that was an epiphany. I mean, going through the Met and seeing those paintings and having an actual dialogue with these painters is something I'm also desperate for. So that when we do move, that's a absolute priority. I've got to be by some great museums and go to them regularly. And you've got that in Florence. I look at houses in France and Italy every day. I save all these like houses. I found one in it's an hour north of Rome. It was built in 1550, so right in the heart of the Renaissance. It has all the charm of the stonework and the arches, and it's 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms in this quaint little village. And it was the primary residence of 5 popes, and it's only 250,000 euro, which is insane. It makes me want to just, of course I would buy that. Why wouldn't I buy that? But I don't know where we're going to end up, but there's so many possibilities.
That's a nice moment for you. You have all these future, this possibility. If
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's very nice.
But yeah, the community, the museums, the proximity to other artists that I can visit with and contact, and I need that feedback, and because I'm always I just again I need to improve. I need to constantly feel like I'm understanding
But
things more. And
maybe you can improve in learning how to embrace yourself as you are,
oh my gosh,
and
my wife
maybe
keeps telling me to get into
and
therapy.
maybe learn how to feel more confident with it without, and forgiving yourself a bit for what
Yeah.
you are doing, like, and that actually is pretty good anyway.
I know. I need to go to. I
So
need to go to like Peru or somewhere
yeah,
and do some
alright.
ayahuasca or something.
No, no,
I need
no.
to. Uh,
No,
uh,
you don't need that.
I need something,
Just
something for a little
just
more
something
self-acceptance.
but for sure, the definitely technical is a big thing, and I know a lot of the people are really interested in getting technical informations, but honestly, I'm losing completely interest in that.
Yeah.
I spent so much time trying to be like Bugaro. I was like these
Yeah.
soft transitions. I was loving that. I was loving Waterhouse. I was like loving all these artists that, that flavor, that delicacy. But now I know that the only thing I can be and I can offer is myself, an
Yeah.
unvarnished artist.
Yeah.
An artist that is just like in constant evolution,
Yeah.
and that is all I can offer myself.
And I think that's a very common trajectory. You hear Sorolla talk about it. You hear a lot of 19th century people that went through those academies. Later in their careers, they look back and they almost despise the academy. But also, they never would have got where they were without it, right? But it's this moment of self-discovery where you look back and realize that of all the benefits of your training, there were also a lot of drawbacks and walls that were put up and certain expectations that as you mature as an artist you let go of and you evolve into a completely unique and different way of thinking, and you look back at the sort of stale quality of your early self or your training grounds and I think that's really normal. So what I hear you saying is you're just becoming more and more self-aware of who you are and what your motivations are and what you want your work to be, and that's just to me that's just maturity, I think.
I don't know. I'm very lucky to forget stuff, so that I can have some space in my head for new things.
Yeah.
So I hope at one point I will forget everything I got, from
Yeah.
the academia, and that will be part of me in a very unconscious way without
Yeah.
really thinking about it.
Sure.
I just hope to have enough time
Yeah.
for my brain to kind of erase and to leave space for other stuff.
Yeah.
Even I'm not saying that because it was a bad thing. I'm telling you, just I've loved the academia and I'm still in love with it, and it's just like that. Personally, I need to just go in another direction now, and I
Yeah.
don't want to. Like Leo asked me also to do, a demo here or to paint. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Let's see how it will go. But
Yeah.
for the moment, I have some reactions now.
Yeah.
Like you have to stay in diet for a little while.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
actually, for me, I definitely don't need the community right now.
Yeah.
I would say
I'm
the offer, probably because you've been for so long, missing it. But I definitely,
Yes, but I have had really good students, and certainly I have a community, of people I love and respect around me. There's a lot of artists in Utah who I respect and really love, admire. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It's that initial tearing away from teaching the life of a teacher. It's that mental separation of the constant concentration on helping others and being really aware of their path and trying to help them improve on their own path. And now all of your focus and attention is on you. And I haven't had that for ever, actually. I've never had that. I've always been teaching or doing workshops, or just my studio was in the school, so students around me all the time. And now most of my time is just me by myself in the studio, and it's different, and it's kind of it's exciting, and I feel like I'm having different thoughts than I would if I was still constantly surrounded by students, constantly teaching academic nudes and casts and whatever. So it sounds like you're kind of in that place too, and it's a really nice moment of self-discovery for both of us, I think. It sounds like. So what's next? You fly back to Florence tonight. Do you have any shows coming up? Any events, or you're just going back to your studio and keep plugging away?
no, yeah, like I don't have anything planned, and I'm just have now I have a few galleries, and I hope to be able to spread the work that it comes out of my studio to all of them.
And which galleries are those? Where can people
Um,
find your work?
I have a gallery in Holland. It's called Galerie Bernard.
In Holland.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
and then I have I really don't have, but I've been showing lately with Sugar Lift, with Arcadia, with Collins Gallery. I still have sort of a good relation with Enlong. Um, Maybe I will catch up with her at one point. And Laura Granning looked really interested. So there is a lot of galleries that are very kind of um, oriented in this kind of art that they are interested in my work. So if I could, you know, work in and for them, I would be happy.
Yeah.
I would be happy. But if like it's nice to have a deadline. Also, like I like
Sure.
to have a sort of something to do for a show. But if it doesn't happen, I'm fine too, because like I will have to create something. So
Yeah.
like honestly, for the moment, I just try to to catch up with these galleries and try to see if exposing my work more on the social, I will find some other galleries that are more attracted by this new dark side of me or other things. But yeah, let's see how it goes. For the moment, I'm very lucky. Then who knows?
Yeah. And so, if people, you're also on Instagram, Daniela Astone is right.
Yeah.
It's just your name.
Yeah,
And then you have a website.
yeah, which
Dani-
is the Daniela Trattino, like the little how do you call it? The
Little dash mark.
yeah, exactly.
So Daniela-Astone.com.
There are not many. And
And-
another thing that in Italy,
So people can contact you directly as well and purchase works.
yeah, I will try to see, of course, but I think it would be better if they could go through the galleries.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing in Italy that we have is that every museum has its own area that where it does, exhibitions. So like temporary exhibition of contemporary artists. So I might, but I'm not sure yet. I might actually to do something in Sicily,
Yeah.
in Palermo.
Cool.
Finger crossed
That'd be
that
awesome.
some everything goes well. But that is the next thing. Together also to a place in Florence called Villa Gamberaia, which a lot of artists went through there, Parish and many others. And maybe I will do something there.
Yeah.
Maybe. So there are a lot of things balling in the
Yeah,
independent.
lot of potential.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's see how it goes.
Cool. Well, yeah, I feel really, really fortunate to have just have our paths cross, luckily, and then to have you be able to have the time to sit down and talk to me. So, thanks for doing this.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
All right. And yeah, that's it. Okay.
Right. Done.
Cool.
It went well.